are now listening to Heresy FM. This ain't your commissar station.
Welcome back to the Service Lodge podcast, the Imperium's leading provider in corpse starch. So if you have a dead family member or relative that's currently taking up too much room in your living space, give us a call. Your loss is our sauce. On the podcast.
So
You're already beginning with your bullshit. Go on
oh
ahead.
god. So
What are you
question.
doing?
So I have a question about this corpse starch thing.
Okay, yeah.
I've heard a lot about it. Like I said, being new and all.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And I heard from what I've heard is a reliable source.
Understood. Probably wasn't.
That I heard that like every planet like basically kills their people and turns them into the food source for everybody and
And recycles it across to me. Corpse starch, right?
That
is some fake news perpetuated by a certain and what they did is they went ahead and that's the case. That is very much the case in probably many of the hive worlds, or at the very least a decent bit. The only one we know for 100% certain is Necromunda, because there is a point to where you cannot intake enough supplies from agri worlds and other planets, locations to feed your populace. And that's very much the case. You cannot spare a drop of water. You can't spare shit. So 100%. People do get recycled. That does happen in the more extreme hives. But at the same time, majority of the hives, you're not seeing people eat people, reprocessed or not, unless like it's something really depraved situation where the hive has no other option. Agri worlds exist for a reason. You got entire planets out there making food that's shipped to mainly the hive cities. That's what happens. So no, corpse starch is not a universal thing in every hive city, but it may be used by hive cities that are under a lot more logistical stress.
What makes sense?
Well, what about like vegans and vegetarians?
In the 41st millennium, there are no dietitian options. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna wonder if they're like
you become the corpse starch vegetarian.
Like, is there like a soy option for just for those kind of people?
In Necromunda, there is soil and grain, and you'll never guess what's made out of.
Corpse starch.
Oh my god, the corpse starch is people.
But yeah, that's pretty much. Let's debunk that fact of the day. Is that corpse starch is not.
Well, fact of the week.
Fact of the week. Yeah, so fact of the week. Corpse starch is not always made out of people. Now, granted, it probably always tastes like it's made out of dead people. From all accounts, it tastes like shit. But unless you're in like an extreme situation in a hive city, like probably Holy Terra and probably like and Necromunda, it's not going to be made out of people unless like a worker fell in, like a Chinese person in a steel mill. But aside from that, odds are no humans are inside of that meal. Yeah.
Well, that makes sense.
Unless it's cornstarch, then it's just made with the blood of your enemies.
That's very true.
Anyways, on to the show.
Anyways, thank you guys for coming back. We are now on episode 3, and we've already been over how to get into this hobby. The Christmas box sets, that was a fun episode, mainly because, man, that Space Marine box set. Okay.
Yeah,
But
about that.
we're getting into the juicy parts of 40K.
I have been waiting for this.
Yeah,
So,
Groot's been
we are-
fucking drooling.
In 40K, for those of you who are unaware, all factions, everything is divided into 3 main categories. You have the Imperium, you have Chaos, and you have Xenos. So today we're going to be going over the first category, which is the Imperium, and we're going to be discussing all intro lore tidbits. If you've been having trouble deciding what army do I want to go,
You're probably gonna go Imperium.
more than likely.
Yeah.
If nothing else, by sheer statistics of how many armies are in Imperium as compared to like Chaos and Xenos, you're probably going to go Imperium. But we're going to give you a nice little overview on all these guys and, see which one you want.
Yeah, I figured we could kind of go in a what's the word I'm looking for? Order of survivability.
Oh. That's a fun one right there.
I figured we would go not necessarily lowest power scale in terms of the game, but in terms of the lore, just to kind of show people the scale of what exactly Warhammer 40K is.
Yeah.
So starting off with so the Imperium of Man.
Yeah, let's go over that for a second. So, because if people are just now listening to this, you may have a loose idea of the Imperium. Let's just cover what the Imperium is. Okay. So, there's a lot of discussion around what sort of government the Imperium is. You see a lot of people online calling it super right-wing governments that we won't name on YouTube, super left-wing governments, stuff like that. And they'll be like, oh, it's like this, like that. The truth is, the only accurate description for the Imperium is that it is an Imperium. It is very much by itself because it's very hard to correlate it to anything we know of. That being said, it is, I guess you could think of it as almost like a mafia agreement. Okay, group, you're a planet and you just got rediscovered. You've been lost to the rest of the galaxy for a long time. It's been a warp storm or something else like that. Imperium comes in and they says, hey, buddy, you're human, so we're not going to automatically kill you. But at the same time, you do whatever the fuck you want when it comes to your planet. We don't care if you ban stuff. We don't care if you kill people. We don't care about genocides or any other sides. Like, you do everything you fucking want. But here's the deal. We went ahead and like surveyed your planet, and we think it would be really good if you guys started like a giant ass mining operation to get this valuable crystal that your planet has. So therefore, you can be part of the Imperium, but you have to abide by our basic tenets and rules, everything else, and you have to provide us with this resource and our tax of what we demand. So the day-to-day operations of planets are entirely by themselves.
Okay, yeah. So that's I mean, that sounds like a pretty good deal. You know,
for the most part,
get to industrialize and everything, but you know.
It's more like rapid industrialization.
Just a question here, you know, just a small caveat. What exactly happens if I say no?
Well, that is whenever they send in the Imperial Guard, which is the first on our list. So the Imperial Guard is what 99.9% of everybody listening would probably be if we were in 40K and we were in the armed forces. Okay. The Imperial Guard is
Speak for yourself. I would totally be a space marine.
Yes, 100%. Yes.
You see that space marine? That's totally me.
He's literally me, man. I just need to add like a little Ryan Gosling, just as space marine. It's literally me. Yeah. So again, the Astra Militarum, not to be confused with the Imperial Army, which is something entirely different. But we do have the Astra Militarum, which is the basic bitch force.
Don't try and church it up, son. You're in the guard now.
Yeah.
Okay, so that being said, to delve into the Astra Militarum, there's a huge variety of how these guys operate. So remember whenever I said the Imperium comes in and says, hey, buddy, you better go and do whatever the hell you want, but you have to give us what we need. And if you don't, we're going to kick you in the ass. Mm-hmm. Well, that also goes down to guard regiments. If they decide that, if the Imperium decides that you need to go and raise a guard regiment from your planet, unless they give you certain like criteria, you need to go on ahead and, well, first of all, put forth your best soldiers. They need to be the cream of the crop, okay? But also, you can outfit them however much you want. And this works in several different ways because it allows players, if you're playing like Astra Militarum, the Guard, to put up whatever you want, okay? You can have guys riding on regular horses with like little medieval helmets riding into battle, okay? You can do whatever you want and call it a guard regiment. Now, the standard across the galaxy, besides from, you know, individual regiments from different planets like Lestroians, Krieg, everybody knows Krieg, Catachans, stuff like that.
Happy gas mask noises.
Is the Cadians. The Cadians, rest in peace, Cadia, is, spoiler alert, I'm sorry, but what happens is basically they are the defining army units of the Astra Militarum in the entire galaxy.
Which is funny because, you know, it doesn't exist anymore.
But here's the fun part. That actually made Cadia a significantly bigger force. And I'll explain why in just a second. But that, as such, because they are sort of like the template for all other guard regiments, majority of the time when you go to any Imperial world, their armed forces are modeled exactly after Cadia. Cadia is the one who set the bar. So they use, for the most part, the same type of armor that Cadia uses, the same type of last guns, depending on what they can get from Forge Worlds, that can, you know, vary. And the same sort of military doctrine. That's what they do. Cadians are the staple. That being said, as you may know, I'm sorry to report that the world of Cadia has been blown open by Abaddon the Armless, also known as Abaddon the Despoiler, or Abaddon the Failed Son, or Abaddon the Top Knot.
Or Abaddon the War Master.
The War Master, which, in the Chaos episode, I'm getting into that, because that's only a title he recently picked up. Like, before 8th edition, and in this time period, the last 10,000 years, he has refused to take on the title of the War Master.
That's like bad luck.
I know, right?
Well, I mean, he's actually doing something, or actually did something to earn that title, though. Before he was like, nah, I'm not there yet.
From Dad.
Yeah, exactly.
Get dad's hand-me-downs.
But so basically, what you're looking at with the from what I understand is you're just looking at normal run of the mill. These are your average Joe people. Is nothing, no space marine, transhuman, crazy genetics, nothing.
Yes, correct. Whenever it comes to the Astra Militarum, it is you and your last gun against the entire galaxy.
Hey, remember that guy who was like, yeah, that's totally me, the Space Marine. That's what. Guess what happens if you fail the initial tests? You still become useful by going to the guard.
You're in the guard now.
Well,
yeah.
Usually, now that can happen. Now we're going to sidetrack a little bit onto that. But usually whenever you fail into getting into the Space Marines, assuming you don't die, you're actually usually work as a chapter serf. Or sometimes people will basically...
that's if you're an aspirant. I'm going off of...
if you just don't go like...
I'm going off of like what happened with Caliban.
Oh, yeah.
Where they dropped all the guys down. Yeah. They did a physical fitness test for all the people there. The people who passed that got to move on. The people who failed, well, guess what? Your ass is putting on some boots.
You're in the guard now.
Yes, you are entirely correct. I misunderstood that. So, that being said, there's a whole bunch of different things. There's probably going to be one of our bigger segments right here. Right off the bat, because there's so much to talk about, even in like a brief overview sense.
No, it's not. It's going to be Space Marines.
I mean, okay. So we got those two big things. Everything else is a side note. So here's, I'd say, the rundown. The Astra Militarum, as you see them, are actually even above standard army levels for the most part. Again, it varies by planet, but here's the other thing. Again, group, I'm going back to you as a planet. Okay. If the Imperium says, send your best, and you know what the consequences are for basically subpar performance or rebelling or anything else, is usually being shit on, whether politically or literally by shoving the actual Astra Militarum down your throat, you probably are going to send your best, right?
Oh, yeah, probably.
Oh, 100%. You make sure that whoever you send is the cream of the crop. So the Astra Militarum that we're seeing in the game, in the lore, with their little strength 3 flashlights, are more along the lines of like Green Beret type stuff. Like they're not necessarily like Navy SEAL.
We're not talking about your run of the mill infantry guy. We're talking about someone that is highly trained.
Yes, highly trained.
Special forces minimum. So no Canadians. That's a good thing.
Yeah, I'll say
Sorry, Trudeau.
I'll say some of the modern day special forces. I mean, they live, breathe, and train warfare. Right, that's what they're entirely geared for. That being said, that's the standard that these guardsmen are basically put up to. Now, in terms of like, there's some more semantics. They aren't exactly like modern day special forces, everything else. So don't think like sending out entire regiments of Navy SEALs or anything. But that's their life, and their life is warfare. And because that's a constant entire issue, and they will see horrifying warfare throughout the entire galaxy, odds are they are significantly better prepared than just Joe Schmo in the army or anything else. And that's just due to necessity.
Yeah, I think it's funny because people think the guard and they're like, they're like, oh, that can't be, all that good. But these guys literally train to fight things that are designed to kill gods.
Yes.
And you have humans that are just like, this is my duty, and by God, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, it definitely. I mean, sure, yeah, they definitely start out as regular Joe Schmo who probably couldn't lift a las gun to save his freaking life. But by the time they get off that planet and get sent on an expedition, yeah, all the weaklings have been weeded out at that point.
Yeah. Now let's go over the a few cool things about the Guard is specifically how they're regimented. So here's a fun little tidbit that I think a lot of people don't know about the Guard is, again, remember when I said is the Astra Militarum or the Imperial Guard, not the Imperial Army. That is no longer a thing since the Horse Heresy. The entire reason is that during the Horus Heresy,
The Horus hearsay.
Horus Hearsay, that's what some YouTube channels do, but basically some regiments used to be you had an entire fighting force, right? Like we're just gonna like, again, loose comparison, let's say United States military. In like the army has access to a whole bunch of different vehicles, everything else, and they can probably have their own vehicles for stuff, yeah?
I did
Loose
notice.
assumption.
I did notice from reading the Horus Heresy when it talks about like the army being deployed and anything, or the army working with like anything. It's you're hearing tanks and artillery and everything is just.
Yes. Exactly. It is all there in one thing. Because at that point, it worked really well when you're conquering entire planets. It's very simple. You send one force over there, they already have everything they need. Boom, done. After the Horus Heresy, the entire military structure was divided into a whole bunch of different types of regiments in order to prevent any like large-scale corruption and basically revolts from happening. So that way, if somebody fields a new regiment or a new division, usually you're going to see stuff like, oh, we're the 567th Cadian, okay? But it'll be like 567th Cadian Infantry or the 568th Cadian Mechanized. And the entire reason they keep all those entirely separated. So when you get put into a unit, you're going to be part of something that is entirely mechanized, entirely infantry, entirely whatever else. So that way, if hypothetically somebody in that unit is corrupted, or like a unit of infantry gets corrupted and they all fall to chaos or rebellious ideology or anything else, well, it's just infantry. They have no tanks, they have no planes, they have no spaceships. At that point, it's easy enough to send in the actual loyal guard to go squash them. Same deal. Oh no, you got the mechanized division. Okay, well, you know where they're situated. You found out where their mechanized camp is at. So bombard it with artillery. You know, it's a lot easier way to solve that solution as compared to having a one big block. So that's one of the cool little things.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Huh.
That makes sense pretty well.
Yeah, it's a ham sandwich type approach. Yeah. You got a problem, so you stack up. Let's have 5 infantry regiments and let's have 2 mechanized regiments, and you build the sandwich as needed. I just think that sounds pretty cool about the guard.
That is pretty cool.
That makes sense, and it makes everybody pretty much cohesive if you think about it, because all the mech dudes know the mech, so if a mech goes down, they can just hop over and grab another one fucking from a guy who just died or whatever. And same thing with the guards. It's like they all know each other and shit.
Yep. Awesome. You've gone it.
Oh, I didn't know if we had more going on Astra Militaro.
I got one final note.
Oh,
One more little thing. One final note. So in the guard, it's all fun and games that you may be entirely specially trained and you are valued because you are your planet's pride and joy, being part of whatever regiment that you're whatever world you're raised from. But first of all, your equipment is more highly valued than you in all standards.
Man, that sounds like a certain military service of today, actually.
Actually, no, because our equipment definitely was. Remember, we left equipment and people.
No. That wasn't we. That was one guy who was like fucking not even actually in charge. But it's
The Imperium of Man Wish Edition.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you look at like the little tanks they have, you might notice, wow, there's one hatch. Guess why? Because crews are more likely to be motivated to continue fighting if it's going to be a lot more difficult to get out of the tank than it is to keep on trying to fight to the last man. If someone outside the tank, yeah, keep on fighting. You have a chance of salvaging the tank if you happen to pull it off or maybe get back to safety, even if the people inside die.
Now in a way, it makes sense on why Space Marine vehicles have more than one exit.
Yeah. Each one of those Astartes costs about 2 million fucking thrown to goddamn.
Pretty much.
Those cost a whole planet of cars.
Yeah.
So, moving on, our next subject is pretty much what happens when you have absolutely no separation between church and state.
This is the final form of church and state right here.
This is the final form of the boss of the Catholic Church right here.
What if you're a boss music?
Yeah.
Oh no.
So we're talking about the Adeptus Sororitas, or the Sisters of Battle.
Nuns with guns.
Essentially.
Bolter bitches. Yes.
Yeah.
If you're a female, I'm sorry, but these are about the only girls that you can play as.
Yep. Big titted pious bitches.
Yes.
That's how it.
But which is weird because reading, about lore and everything, the Emperor wanted an entirely religiousess society, and now you quite literally have tanks with entire churches with pipe organs.
The Emperor did not consider style, and that was his own issue. So
Yeah, that was the skill issue.
Yeah.
There.
For a completely supposedly secular Imperium, these chicks didn't get the memo.
No, they didn't get the memo at all.
Neither did the ecclesiarchy, but we won't go into that.
So these I was about to say these guys. Sorry.
These strong, independent women.
These strong, independent females are they're still human. Nothing has changed. I about said the bad word.
Yeah.
I'm
transhuman. Nothing transhuman about these. Nothing trans about these guys at all. In fact, they're women, sisters. But
this is the closest you'll get to a female space marine.
So, did you guys know the story about why they're all women?
I heard something. Oh.
I would assume it's because once women get onto something, they never let it go or let her, ever let you live it up, no matter how long it's been.
They can hold a grudge with anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Especially in the name of Jesus Christ. I mean, whatever religion.
Well, they wanted armed maids, and this was cheaper, so. But.
Oh, it's literally a Handmaid's Tale. Okay. All right, never mind.
No, but aside from that, I'm sure we'll get a copyright strike somewhere.
I remember.
Remember now.
There was something about someone made a decree that no man could be enlisted or something like that, and so literally they were like, well.
So there was an event, or I should say, a time period of great turmoil. And there's a few of those between the Horus Heresy and 40K. Believe it or not, the timeline is littered with that type of stuff. And some of it's not even been explored yet, but we'll get on that later. But one such thing around like M36, if I remember correctly, was the Age of Apostasy. And long story short, again, we're not going into huge details, but somebody basically came to become the head ecclesiarch called Goj Vandar. And what he basically did is he went absolutely mad with power. You know all the horror stories about like, well, what would happen if like some mad, crazy religious figure took over the state and did all this stuff? And I know that is 40K, but at least 40K still kind of like prioritizes personal safety and functionality, even if it's through like 10 miles of bureaucracy. Goj Vandar was batshit insane. This motherfucker basically thought he was the emperor. He is just off his cuckoo rockers. But what ended up happening is he took up residence on Holy Terra as his right as like head ecclesiarch. And he ended up going so nutty that you actually had, for the only time since the Horus Heresy, you had Imperial Fists, Space Marines, including Imperial Fists, besiege Holy Terra in order to go and kill this motherfucker. With that being said, during this time, he personally, as he was coming to power as head ecclesiarch, he founded an order of sororitas, before they were known as sororitas, that were known as the Wives of the Emperor. And they were some badass motherfuckers. Okay, we are saying psychotic bitches with a vengeance. Like absolutely crazy. And then he basically had a force field. So there are such things as force fields in 40K. And one such thing is a displacer. And what happens is that whenever you're shot with something, whether it's a solid projectile or an energy weapon, it basically takes the momentum and energy entirely out of it. So if I, like, you're sitting across from me, you're wearing a one of these force fields, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I pull out a gun, I shoot you. That bullet, there's going to be a spark of light, and that bullet's just going to drop to the ground because all momentum and energy was taken away from that.
That's dope.
Yes. That being said, he was wearing one. He went up to the sisters, and then he proceeded to hand his gun to them and say, "The Emperor will protect me." So whenever the sister shot him, you saw a crack of lightning and he was unarmed. So therefore, they became religious fanatics by his side. And this did not end until, long story short, they were basically told they were hoodwinked, and they ended up killing Goj Vandar themselves. But after that happened, due to the entire fact that as head ecclesiarch, he raised an entire army to fight by his side, they forbade.
Proof not to trick women.
Again,
They held a grudge, that's for sure. But the ecclesiarchy is actually forbidden from having any men at arms. That was the exact wording. Well, if you're forbidden from having men at arms,
Doesn't say anything about women at all.
you get women at arms, exactly. And of course, everybody looks at that as like, hey, you're kind of skirting around, but you know what? You're still the church and basically 40K. So yeah, the fuck you gonna do? So there you go. That was their origin, and they are insane.
Oh, and in my honest opinion, some of the most like beautiful models on the tabletop. The Triumph of Saint Catherine.
Yes.
I can't remember what it's called, but that big church organ tank.
That's called the church organ tank.
Yeah, that's all I call it. But that is actually one of the only models I think that has. I want to say it has like clear pieces so that you can actually do the stained glass for it, which is a dope feature.
Let's just call it the Missile Monastery.
Yeah, the Missile Monastery. There we go.
Monastery. Yep, trademark. Screw you, GW.
So once again, these guys women are still human. They're very, but they're blessed. I guess in a certain way.
They are living proof that the Emperor is, to at least some degree or another, an actual real god. They literally do miracles. They have that power.
That's crazy. And they're from what I've read, they're like there's like so once again like Space Marines are like anything. They're separated into different factions that you can all paint differently and all have their different stories, but they also have their own like saints that they represent, and also they have their own what's the word, relics and stuff that they specifically like.
Oh, they guard those, yes, with a vengeance.
So the organ engine that we were talking about, if I'm not mistaken, it's called the Exorcist.
I'm pretty sure that sounds right.
That makes sense.
Because they have another one that's called the Immolator, and that's it's got like the stained glass thing over the top too.
Yeah, the Immolator is the one with the stained glass. The Exorcist is the church organ.
Yeah, the Exorcist is just a giant pipe organ on a rhino. That's essentially what it is.
But it's funny, fun little fact about the Adeptus Sororitas and with the Triumph of Saint Catherine. In the Triumph of Saint Catherine, there is a piece of each living saint carried by, I guess, their representative around the Triumph of Saint Catherine.
Is Saint Hela in there?
I don't know, probably.
She was the first saint. Okay.
What's also kind of fun is that they are fanatical. Okay, speaking of relics or anything else, and you can many times have different orders of sisters form around something that is not even necessarily in their field because they consider it holy or righteous. So you got some, I'm not going to try to pronounce this, like Valkyries of Varnir or the Daughters of Gilliman. And again, because they view any work of the Emperor as basically holy or divine. So entire orders of sisters can form around them, not just as their own convents.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's a little interesting. Another interesting little fact about them. So, as nuns and everything, they are, they obviously have medics and whatnot, but funny little story. They're kind of limited in their resources.
Yeah.
And so who better to act as one of the things that the sisters are also known for is torture.
Oh, yes, quite so.
And who better to act as your torturer than the person that can fucking fix every single one of those wounds and make sure that you live as long as possible.
Yeah.
So their apothecaries are actually also their torturers, is another little thing.
There is no Hippocratic oath at all.
And so they skew the line between healers and torturers very, very, very thin line.
Are we talking about Admech?
No, we'll get there.
Oh, baby.
Yeah.
So, do we have anything else on?
Oh yeah. There's a few more things.
Oh,
So
you have more?
a recurring, well, honestly, it's probably the only time we get brought up in this episode. So to go through the life of a sister real quick, there is something called the Schola Progenium. Okay, and you can think of this as basically various academies established in different sectors, and what they are is that whenever somebody's in the previously mentioned Astra Militarum, they can obviously rise to high ranks, and that could be, and eventually they receive, get to the officer level. If that happens, no guard regiment is forbidden from having a family, whether inside the regiment or outside the regiment. That being said, sometimes when they die in battle, they leave behind orphans. Okay? And meaning, who's going to take care of the orphans? Well, some kind soul figured, well, why put something good to waste? If their parents were officers, they're probably not going to be half bad either. So they send all these boatloads of orphans to these schools where they are then trained. And here's the entire deal. They either become the actual elite Navy SEALs, the Astra Militarum, which are the Scions. Yeah. And they have their own regiment. We can do a whole video on them by themselves, or they become commissars. Or, and the third option, for any of the female people there, because they still have very strong imperial faith in them, the most devoted and zealous women are basically turned into Adeptus Sororitas. And whenever they're done at the Schola Progenium, they get sent off to a convent, and they're basically continued their training there.
Become a sister.
And become a sister of battle. Now, we also talked about miracles. One of the funny things about this is that as warriors, and often as those who are really fanatical, meaning they engage in a lot more risks, more rational people would not take, they get a lot of scars. And quite frankly, a lot of them, if we're just looking at the plane, are probably going to be a little bit ugly because they've been through hell and back, right? They've been fucked up. They are not Miss Imperium. However, the holy power that basically goes with them wherever they go, usually they come across as basically a stunning angelic creature to a lot of individuals. So fun fact, even if a sororitas is super fucked up, a lot of the times to any guardsmen that are nearby or anybody else, they look beautiful. Like they actually have they have the Victoria's Secret glow. Yeah.
I guess having wings also doesn't help the whole angel thing too.
Sure. So the power of the Emperor emanates through a lot of different ways. But that's about it. That's all I got.
So nuns with guns. If you like kind of a darker religious theme to your your model repertoire, they're definitely a good pickup. They're definitely on my list to pick up, which I'm sure everything is on my list to pick up at some point or another. But
just play this damn game.
But yeah,
Tau?
No, never Tau.
Okay,
never Tau.
we're doing good.
I'd rather just pick up Gunpla by that point. So moving on to, I guess, technically the last mortal of our list of survivability. This is about, as a mortal, this is about the highest chance of survivability you have.
And good measure of living.
I had my reservations about this one just because in terms of survivability, if we're just talking about, okay, so you just, I guess, go.
I would say that this next one is going to survive a hell of a lot easier than a regular old guard is.
Yes.
And probably a lot more than a fucking sorority.
So, Imperial Knights, all right? You see them, you love them. They're big, bad mech robots. Piloted usually by 3 people, 2 people, depending.
Knights are just a single person.
Knights are a single.
Yes, they're a single person. I'm thinking of the Imperator Titan and things like that.
Titans are sort of wrapped into.
Yeah, Titans are like a whole city that runs that.
In terms of survivability, the person inside, if they're inside the Knight, they have more chance of surviving than the Space Marine just because of how they're used. But if you're just talking about the person themselves, that dude could fall and and hit by a car on the way to the Knight.
But essentially, if you want to play giant fucking robots, but you don't have the fucking $2 billion to play fucking Legionis Titanicus or whatever the fuck it is, if you don't have the $1,200 to throw down on a fucking Titan, by God, to go for the next best thing and get you some Knights.
Yes.
So the Knights are a fun thing because they almost universally come from feudal worlds. So in the Imperium, all the worlds are given different labels, whether it's like a hive world, agri world, or feudal world. The distinction can get kind of blurry at times. Thank you, Games Workshop. But that being said, these machines are very often been with the planet for as long as it's been founded, and they're initially created to basically help basically just help around the planet. These giant chainsaw blades you see, they were probably meant for cutting down trees. These were not even meant for war. Now that being said, the big benefit to having knights is because they can multifunction between settlement protection and settlement duties. Early colonies, yeah. So guess what? Giant chainsaw, cut down trees, and if a giant monster comes out of somewhere else on the planet, you got a giant chainsaw. What's it going to do? So, and of course, because they're the main protectors of this colony, over time they became like the ruling nobles of that planet, which is usually the reason for the designation of feudal world. And as such, years go by, and all that gets lost to history. But long story short, you now got a family treated very, very well, by the way. Basically having giant-ass fucking robots. Now, bonding with the machine spirit, or bonding with the knight, is one of the hardest, most arduous. Oh, you don't know? Yeah, bonding with the knight.
Yeah, this isn't like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. They get in, they got controls, just moving shit around. Like, no.
Yeah, when you are controlling the knight, there's specifically, I forget, it's a throne, but it's not a tied throne. But you basically plug into it, and it's as if you are the knight.
Yeah. These like little glass fucking like wires, like about the size of your hair, come out, and they go in through your eyes, they go in through all that shit, and you basically become the knight.
Yeah. That being said, there's a chance. There's a small chance.
So it's like Neon Genesis?
No. Get in the night, Shinji. But yeah, I mean, yeah, to a degree, yeah. Including the mental illness, because there's a chance that the throne or the connection could reject you, which in that case, you go insane. And I do mean batshit insane. And you are basically locked away in a secret cellar by your family. Because you're a disgrace. The noble family just want to parade around their mentally inept reject that failed. So you're locked up somewhere.
Don't try and church it up, son. Don't you mean?
All that fun stuff. But if you are in the night, and once you're there, you also have to deal with the voices of your ancestors who came before you, who also use the night. The more you use the night, the more of an imprint you leave on the knights. So that being said, more often than not, the pilot dies due to old age, or perhaps the engine gets damaged, but the engine is salvaged, but the pilot is killed. Their imprint of their spirit is left in that night. And to the point where actually the old ancestors can verbally talk to you while you're piloting the night. And they can offer their tactical advice, they can offer sage advice, or they could just insult the fuck out of you. Like that's a very real possibility that you have some ancestor from 500 years ago calling you.
So is that what they talk about whenever, like I've noticed in a couple of books, and they don't really give a whole lot of, explanation on things. Is that what they're talking about when like, in Horus Heresy, I was reading someone was piloting a knight or whatever, and he was trying to get it to go one way, but like the knight was steering itself a different direction, or like he could feel like it tugging towards this direction. So that's more kind of what it's talking about.
Pretty much, yeah. The knight's a complex machine because everything in 40K, if a vehicle or even like a specific instrument like a bolt pistol or a bolter or a las pistol can hypothetically develop a machine spirit. You could think of this as like the soul of the machine. No joke. Yes, that's a real thing. So whenever it's a case of, the tech priests go around and they anoint your pistol with oil, that sounds like religious nonsense. But if that pistol's been in the service of a space marine for 1,000 years, odds are it has a machine spirit.
Cue the ghost in the fucking ghost in the shell fucking music.
Yeah. That being said, with machines as storied and historied as knights, you also have that animalistic machine spirit in that knight. On top of that, you also have the voices of your ancestors, and of course your own control. So you're basically trying to deal with a whole bunch of different shit at once, aside from even combat if you're piloting a knight. So that specific situation could have been like the ancestors trying to like pilot the knight, or like nudge it away, like, oh, bad idea, don't go in there. Or it could have been the knight itself, the actual machine itself, trying to no, steer off this way.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So I noticed you were talking
I just
about
think
like
free range knights and shit. There's just, like horses out in the wild. Free range knights.
Humane race.
Oh, we gotta go break that knight in real quick. Hold on.
Grass fed.
how's that leg doing, gallant?
How do you think like little, what are the small knights called?
The
armigers.
Armigers,
yeah.
yeah.
You got little like knights popping out armigers after.
It's like a giant night goose with like 6 armigers behind it.
So I know you said that they were separated into houses, but I read something about these things called the free blades.
Yeah. So I know you play some Knights Corn, so I'm not sure. Do you want to pick up on that or no?
When it comes to lore on Imperial Knights, I don't know much. I know the free blades are kind of like
He was one of those people that didn't want to spend the $1,200 on the Titan, and so it was like,
You haven't been paying workshop, have you?
No. I paid. No, I didn't pay them. I paid a third-party company for a box of armigers.
Oh my
so
goodness.
yeah.
Oh, no.
But as far as I'm aware with the free blades, and I may be not.
It's okay. We'll turn this into a game. You going ahead, and then like I'll just be the buzzer.
Yeah. Free blades are basically knights for hire, in a sense.
Okay, so kind of like mercenary.
Yeah, they're
mercenary
basically
giant
mercs.
robots.
Yeah, but you could, by all means, give
good.
more detail into
I
it.
got you. Yeah, so you're actually entirely correct. That is very similar to a mercenary type deal. So again, reminder how we said that the knights are usually coming from a feudal world and a noble family that usually rules the world, or the very least has a very high standing in that world. That being said, these houses individually are usually part of a much larger house. Okay, this can range from like House Terran to House Hawkshroud to whatever the fuck you want to make. Excuse me.
Almost like a mafioso type deal.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Like multiple families under one family name.
Exactly. Yeah, very much so.
Like Game of Thrones, but with giant robots.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Lannister house, baby.
and not so much incest.
I mean,
Oh,
yeah.
I don't know. We're too some nobles here, so I'm
Yeah,
not.
this is true. Yeah, that's probably a big part of it.
But that being said, every once in a while you have that rogue spirit individual who wants to set out and force their own trail. Now this can be to like any variety of reasons, because obviously the family probably doesn't want their knight or a very valuable war machine fucking off to the other end of the galaxy where they can't recover the knight, right? So this could happen because maybe the pilot just did their best to somehow fly and transport off world because they wanted to. Maybe they were bored, and that's a very real possibility, though it would be much harder. Maybe the rest of their house got absolutely destroyed in a giant battle, and they're the last one left, and the enemy is still at large. So they're a free blade traveling basically the galaxy, trying to find this enemy or creature that killed the rest of the Knight households. He's trying to take revenge. Maybe, like they fought with a specific force, and they were saved by, let's say, the Space Wolves. They were fighting with the Space Wolves in an engagement, and the Space Wolves' actions saved that knight's life. And that knight says, I will now fight by your side wherever you go because I am indebted to you. You saved my life. So free blades can set off on any reason whatsoever. But that could be for money, could be for duty. But that being said, it's very much usually a one-way trip, so to say. They fight, they die, they are recovered, end of story.
So essentially it's just a knight that doesn't belong to a house or belongs to a house that got annihilated.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Or it could be an individual to go on a quest. Is that sort of deal.
Huh? And that's really all about all I had on these guys. I mean, they have
They speak for themselves.
Yeah,
Yes.
These guys are terrifying on the tabletop. If you don't like, if you like not putting a lot of models on the tabletop, this is definitely the army for you.
Yeah, this army is by far the cheapest army to get into, in my opinion. Unless you're trying to go Custodes, but that's that's a different story. You like Like these dudes, yeah. All you need is what? Maybe 3 big knights and a couple armatures, and that's it.
And that's literally it. Maybe I don't know. Maybe a couple $100 and
Let's see. Well, that's the great thing about this army is that there's really only what 3 boxes for the big knights.
something like that.
Yeah, and you could make. I think there's like not or what 7 or 8 different freaking knights that you can make out of just this one box.
Oh yeah.
Because you have your Questoris, you have your Preceptor, and you also have your which one's the Valiant? The
Warded.
well, I think the
Valiant is the one with 2 melee, I believe, right?
no, the Valiant is the big dude.
Oh, you're right. Yeah,
The Dominus.
Yeah, that was.
Yes. So you have your Knight Dominus, you have your Knight Preceptor, you have your Knight Warden,
Gallant.
something like that.
Rex.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So out of one Knight Preceptor box, you can make like 3 or 4 different knights. You can make the Gallant, you can make the Preceptor,
And you can make the
can
other
make shit.
4 out of the other
Yeah.
box.
And then the Knight Dominus is the big like head honcho knight, and that one you could either make the Valiant or the Gallant, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yeah, long story short, if you're going to grab any of the boxes for knights or anything else,
Yeah.
be aware if you grab one box, you can probably make all the different types of variants.
Yes.
It's either like armatures, baseline knights, and then you have like the really big ones with the stuff on the shoulders.
right,
Yeah.
right, yeah, and magnetize, because like Step Bro said, you magnetize that one model. Let's say you want it to be a Preceptor. Well, hell, switch out the arms, switch out the shoulder guns, whatever, and hey, now you've got a Knight Warden.
got
You know?
everything.
So
Work smarter, not harder.
yeah, exactly.
So moving on,
Is it time?
for everybody, the 90% of everybody that we said was going to go and work for the Imperium, this is the reason why 90% of those people are here. We are talking about the one and only the Space Marines.
Space Marine.
Poster boys of Games Workshop and 40,000.
Not just the Ultramarines.
Yeah, not just the Ultramarines.
No,
If-
no, no, yeah.
If you may not even know what Warhammer is. You may have never heard the word Warhammer, but you've seen a Space Marine. I guarantee you. I pop that image up on the screen. You're like, yes, that is a Space Marine right there. Oh, where to even begin with this?
Oh.
Oh,
So, by going by the power scale that we've been going by, let's say that you're Step Bro. Let's say that you're a normal run of the mill human. Let's say you're just you. Yeah, like you're not a normal run of the mill human right now. But let's say you guys are
he's
normal
catching
run
on.
of the.
Wait, you're not?
oh,
Let's say that you guys are normal run-of-the-mill humans, corn berserker, Step Bro. You guys are sitting in a trench and shit's getting bad, and all of a sudden, an angel just fucking lands on the fucking battlefield, and everything that has been fucking your world up, all of a sudden just stops breathing. Because it just took mass reactive shells to the fucking face, where your last bolts weren't doing shit. So achievement unlocked. It is pretty. This is the equivalent of humans seeing, quite honestly, perfection and just angelic beauty.
yep. This is. I think this is also the line right here between as a guardsman. You would probably see the past, like obviously you see guardsmen because you're a guardsman yourself, or let's just say like Imperial civilian. You've seen guardsmen. You've probably seen sisters, maybe not, probably not, but they're not like rare. Okay?
Yeah.
And then knights. If you've been in the guard or like anything else, maybe a parade,
You've probably
Yeah,
seen a
yeah,
knight
or
somewhere.
walked around with a
or
fucking
or
knight,
you
yeah.
or Space Marines you've maybe heard of.
yes,
Yes.
you've definitely heard of Space Marines and you've seen the statues everywhere. And it gets to the point where you don't even think Space Marines exist because you've never fucking seen one. In fact, your generation going back the last 2,000 years has never even seen a single Space Marine.
It is the equivalent
Yeah.
of me telling you guys that I saw the fucking Loch Ness monster outside.
Unironically, yes.
Yeah. Now imagine you're like Groot was saying, you're in the trenches and you're shooting this thing that just cannot, will not, won't fucking die. Right? All of a sudden you hear a loud like explosion. You look off to the side, you see this weird looking like flower pod thing just land.
I mean, yeah, it was like Flower Bros.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden the doors blow open, and to go back to Game of Thrones, if anyone's familiar with who the Mountain is, all right, let's say you have like about 10 of those mountain dudes hop out with guns the size of your torso, and all you hear is pop, 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 pop. You're gonna see these guys, you're like, holy shit, who the fuck are these guys?
According to lore, Space Marines quite literally double the size of a normal human.
Yes.
Your average, so probably you're probably looking about your average person between we'll say 6 foot tall.
Yeah.
For your average man.
About 5'5" or
Well,
so.
it was.
Well, I was
like
gonna give a
5'9".
yeah, I was gonna give a scale comparison because I believe they say that the Emperor stands about 15 meters tall.
Oh.
This is America. What the fuck is that?
Yeah,
And that's now I'm gonna look that in. I'm gonna look it up in Imperial units.
So looking up.
Yeah, fair enough.
Look. Funny how they don't put the Imperium of Man in Imperial units.
So you can call it Imperial all you want. The game's still in inches, but okay. But that being said, yeah, the average. Now, granted, there is a little bit of a difference semantics for this. The average height for a non-Primaris Marine. We'll get it like Primaris versus non-Primaris in a second. Doesn't really even matter anymore, but still.
They're all Primaris.
They're all Primaris now. The regular tactical Marine usually stands around like 8 to 8.5 foot tall. On average. That's what they are. 8.5 foot tall.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So, again, it can vary a little bit just by Marine, but on average, the size. Primaris, you're looking more like 8.5 to 9.
So, quite honestly, like, you're looking at just a squad of Shaqs. It's taller than Shaqs, because Shaq is like 7 foot or something like that.
Quite literally, yes.
Yeah.
Like, you mentioned the Mountain, he's 6'9". So, a Space Marine is pretty much on average at least a foot taller than him.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, even then, this is not a regular just tall person, okay? This is a person that is probably wider than he is tall. I mean, if you look at the anatomy of a Space Marine, it looks like somebody who just got into drawing and they don't know how to do anatomy. And it's just like super, super chalky. Then you have a small head on top.
You know what it looks like to me? It looks like Stretch Armstrong.
Stretch Armstrong. What the fuck is Stretch Armstrong?
You don't know what a fucking Stretch...
Oh, yeah, the guy, that's what. Yes, I know. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Okay.
I was about to say, oh God. Don't make me feel old.
I think you're gonna be talking about floppy disks or something. Oh my goodness. But yeah, so
You've never used a floppy disk in your life,
I
have you?
have actually. Yes. My dad used to have floppy disks because we only
Okay.
operate on machines 10 years older than I was. But
Jesus Christ. Thank
Yeah.
God. There is hope.
that being said, we have this giant person towering over a regular human. First of all, that's without armor, and he is swole, like to the absolute max. Like, if you ever seen like any pictures of anybody with like massive steroids or anything else, and you're like, yeah, that guy uses steroids.
Yeah,
And
think
he's
it's like the biggest person jacked up times like infinity.
I'm putting some images up right now. By God, you'll understand. But that's before the armor, and then the armor is oftentimes better than the Imperial Guard vehicles, if not at least minimum on par. But especially in terms of like being able to wear it, significantly better. This is ceramite, the armor used for Space Marines. Remember that. Ceramite is gold in the Imperium with how rare it is. But that being said, this thing makes them as strong as tanks. But they are over here wielding weapons, also essentially as strong as tank guns. Maybe not like the big cannon, but like everything else, yeah. And they're dead shot accurate. These guys are basically professional snipers with how they're hitting. No matter, we go around and you pull like a Chris Kyle on the range, you're like, man, I'm good. Space Marine shows up, does that. No warm up, no nothing else, no scoping in, easy. Like they're the cheese.
And that suit does everything.
Yes.
So
Not only is the suit like, I'm pretty sure it's like what, anti-concussive, so it reduces
Yeah.
any kind of shock that the body would take. It filters out toxins. It monitors all of their biometrics, heart rate, blood pressure, anything like that.
They get hurt, it automatically administers stims and fucking medicates and shit.
Yeah, automatically administers first aid for them. It has all kinds of every kind of retinal view that you could think of, from night vision to thermal to.
It's also got an oxygen tank in case they find themselves out in space.
Are we going to forget about the nuclear reactor on their back?
Well,
I was getting through. There's just this thing does everything.
The great thing about that nuclear reactor is that it has an eco mode. So if you're not doing anything, you're standing around, it will go into a low power state and just damn near fucking make you invisible.
I'm here to destroy the Xenos, not the ozone.
Think of the power armor from fucking Fallout and jack that up once again because it's fucking 40k times infinity because it's just 40k.
Deathclaw's not getting through that.
So Deathclaw's not even fucking touching that. Deathclaw will eventually fuck up a normal Brotherhood of Steel power armor. Yeah. Deathclaw is not even touching fucking Space Marine.
On top of all this, you're like, man, this guy sounds really strong. He carries big weapons. It goes further than that. We're talking while they're still in this giant suit, while they are still bulky as hell with all the equipment, they can still sprint a mile faster than Hussein Bolt. They can still fight for quite literally days on end, doing whatever they need to do. They can go for weeks without sleep. Now, granted, if they go past, like, I want to say it was they started losing optimal function after maybe like a few days without sleep, and that's when they slowly start actually catching up with them. But there was one chapter, like the White Consuls, and part of their everyday ritual was, well, not every day, but they had a routine ritual is that before and after battle, they would spend an entire month just not sleeping, and for the entire month, all they would do was meditate just on how to kill their enemy. The entire fucking month.
That's fucking
crazy.
So
going back to what we were talking about with height-wise with these guys, I had to go ahead and recheck my sources. So evidently, Big E is about almost 4.5 meters tall, and it's like 4.3 or some shit. That equivalates to 14.11 feet tall.
That's how he appears. Yeah.
That's how he appears. Okay, so off of what he's appearing, what he's showing people, he's about 15 feet or 14 feet tall. The Primarchs stand around 10 feet tall, with the exception of Alpharius, who's, you know, probably a little over 8 feet, whatever the Astartes are, and the Astartes are on average about 8 feet tall. So, give you a scale, you see 10 of those motherfuckers hop out, and you're like 5'7". You're like, yeah, that guy's gonna look like a fucking god to you in a heartbeat.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because that can bring us to our next point about the Space Marines. Big E. So we did kind of skip over this part in the beginning. Big E is the reason we are all sitting in this fucking part of the reason we are all sitting in this situation. We're talking about the Emperor of Mankind. He is essentially God in this universe. For lack of better words.
He's an enigma wrapped in a puzzle, wrapped in a riddle, probably wrapped in a baconator. I mean, it's you don't know what you're getting.
We could do weeks worth of episodes on all the things that the Emperor does. But moving on from that, so the Emperor, things were going, he was doing all of his things. He was out conquering and doing all that. And he decided, you know what? I can't do this on my own. There's way too much. It's finally extending past my grasp. I need help. What better way than to vat grow some babies?
Yeah, baby.
Mm-hmm.
And so he, at first, vat grew 20. And...
Well, we're forgetting about the Thunder Warriors.
Oh, they also had a primer.
Yeah, his first hit.
Wait, what?
Oh, you didn't know that?
You didn't know about the Thunder Warriors?
Well, I knew about Thunder Warriors. I didn't know about a fucking primal.
They weren't vat grown. That was the Thunder Warriors were his first like baby steps into genetic modification, alteration, gene splicing, whatever the hell you want to call it and shit. Because he needed before the Astartes, he needed a fucking army that, wouldn't be the Imperial Guard.
A decisive weapon to conquer Terra.
Exactly. So he got a bunch of the biggest, baddest motherfuckers on the planet that you could find. Big mongrel-looking
And
motherfuckers.
then turn him into Bane.
And then juiced them up into Bane and was like, all right, let's go do this shit. And then once they outlived their purposes is when he actually started. He got with Dr. Astartes, and she came up with the whole fucking program of the Astartes.
By the way, that is not a joke. That is quite literally her name.
Yes, it's like Dr.
What?
fucking...
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah,
crazy.
her name is like Anna or something like that, Astartes.
Dr.
Astartes.
Astartes, and that's
Yes.
where the Adeptus
Usually
Astartes.
Yeah. And you know what's even better? One of the big vehicles they use called the Land Raider. Why is it called a Land Raider?
Because it raids the land.
I know, right? Well, you'd be fucking wrong, you imbecile. Because obviously it was named after the inventor, Arcan Land. Oh.
Yeah, who happened to be a raider in his youth.
But so after all the Thunder Warriors happened,
Amar Astarte. That was her name.
Amar Astartes.
Yes.
So he came out with 20 children.
21. I'm sorry, I don't mean to do that right now.
18. So the number is confusing. So all right, so we're gonna break this down. Technically, there were 21.
Yes.
Well, 20.
Oh my god.
No. I'm saying in the sense of what happened with Alpharius and Omegon.
Technically,
I believe it's warp
this is where we're
fuckery.
gonna- this is
Which
where we're
I
gonna
believe
go
is warp
fucked up.
fuckery. Because they even kind of attest to it.
So, starting off, we have Lionel Johnson.
Okay, well, before we do that, let's also explain what we're talking about real quick.
Yes.
So, real quick, just to give you the brief synopsis, in case you've been lost for the past tiny bit. So, there's these space marines, these stars we talked about, big, bulky guys, everything else really fucking tall, okay? All these guys are descended in one way or another from these Primarchs that the Emperor created to help him conquer the galaxy in 30K, okay, before the Horus Heresy. That being said, there's a fluctuation on the numbers due to various things. We lost 2 of the legions, but also one of the Primarchs turned out to be twin Primarchs, and it's a whole bunch of back. Anyways,
Yeah.
there's Primarchs.
Yeah. When we
that-
get into Alpha Legion, we'll get more into that.
Yes. But that being said, all the Primarchs that are relevant are 18 Primarchs. I'm including the twin Primarchs as one Primarch. Okay.
Yeah.
We're going from there. So 18 Primarchs and all Space Marines, whether Imperial or Chaos, which we'll get to next episode.
Wait a minute. Are you also including redacted and redacted?
I'm not. No, I'm saying all because I said all.
Wait a second.
All you need to.
Why does it keep doing? I keep trying to say redacted and redacted.
Because you're saying redacted and not redacted. You gotta say redacted to get past the censor.
Yeah, but there obviously okay. So there's 20 Primarchs, there's 20 legions, but there's 2 of them that aren't talked about: the redacted and the redacted. So why can't
All I've got to say is Lehman Russ did nothing wrong.
Not wrong.
at least in one of those instances?
He was just following orders.
That being said, are you gonna go over all the loyalist ones or all?
I mean, I was just gonna kind of shoot off the Primarchs.
So these are the 18 you need to know about.
Okay, so running off first, we have the Dark Angels. Those are led by Lionel Johnson. We have Redacted, led by Redacted.
Second Legion.
We have Emperor's Children, led by Fulgrim. We have the Iron Warriors, led by Perturabo,
Boo.
aka Peter Turbo.
Peter Turbo.
We have the White Scars, led by Jagatai Khan.
Oh.
We have, quite honestly, the bestest boys, the Space Wolves, led by Lehman Russ, the best Primarch ever,
Debatable.
God of all.
Debatable on both accounts.
We have the Imperial getting fisted.
Oh, Imperial Fist. Woo!
The Imperial Fist.
Imperial Fist, led by Rogue Dorn. They're pretty damn great. Don't limit to otherwise.
Led by Royal Dong. Let's continue.
Next, we have the Night Lords, led by Conrad Kurz.
Hey, whoa. Calm down with the slander on the Night Lords, please. Okay, they're not the Edge Lords. We'll reserve that for the Raven Guard.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know. I feel like you guys are way more edgy. Moving on, we have the Blood Angels, led by the bestest Hawk Boy, Sanguinius. Quite honestly, an angel.
He is the
Rest in peace.
bestest boy. He really is.
We have the Iron Hands, R.I.P. Ferris Manus. Spoiler alert.
Wait, why are the Iron Hands called the Iron Hands?
I'll give you a guess.
Well, why? Okay, so Ferris Manus.
It's because they have hands.
So here's the entire deal. I do not know the order of this, but just so you're aware about the Iron Hands, Games Workshop is really shit at naming stuff. Okay. That being said, Ferris Manus for those of you who are not already aware or don't know any basic Latin translation, trust me, it's okay, but this should be obvious from the name, is literally Latin for iron hand.
I don't even think Manus is Latin for Iron Hand.
It's
It
probably
might
like
be.
pig Latin type stuff.
Yeah.
But it's Iron Hand, and then Paris Manus the Primarch has an Iron Hand.
Yes,
And then
Two
we-
iron hands.
Yes,
the
two Iron
cards
Hands.
are Iron Hands.
Yeah.
And like his Legion.
Well, they're
and
not
his
really
liquid
iron.
chapter,
They're like living metal.
They're iron, close enough. He
Yeah.
called him the Iron Hand. He called him an Iron Hand. Anyway, but and then his Legion / chapter is the Iron Hands. We've already done the Iron Hands episode. There we go.
So next on the list, we have the World Eaters, led by Angron.
Ooh, Angry Ron.
We have the Ultramarines. Reason why, like, 90% of you are going to play is led by Rabute Gilliman, Robust Girly Man,
Robo Grilly Man.
Bobby G.
Eldar fucker.
Row your boat gently down the Streamly Man.
Robo.
Anytime you see a Space Marine on an official Games Workshop product or advertisement,
Yeah.
and they're blue with gold trim, those are the Ultramarines.
Yep.
We have
led by Robo Gilly Suit.
we have we have the Death Guard led by Mortarion, the Thousand Sons led by Magnus Did Everything Wrong. We have the Sons of Horus led by, or the Luna Wolves, depending on where you get at in the lore. And surprise, those are led by Horus. We have the Ward Bearers led by Lorgar.
Fuck Erebus.
Fuck Erebus.
We have the Salamanders led by Vulcan. We have the Raven Guard led by
My Chemical Romance.
Corvus Corax. And for those of you who don't know, Corvus in Latin literally translates to raven.
Corvus,
And funny as
bro.
part,
Yeah.
and also
Legion.
Yeah.
also another funny thing, their homeworld is Deliverance.
Yeah, I watched that movie.
But so finally we have the Alpha Legion, and that one is interesting. They have two
The-
Primarchs.
The best Legion, if some would say. I would never say this, but some have told me that the Alpha Legion were the best Legion ever.
They are led by Alfarius, Omegon, both, neither, all of the above. We don't know.
The entire lore and history of the Alpha Legion is basically one giant question mark, and there's only like one
Yes.
thing for certain, but even the one thing for certain, which we will save for next episode, is still a question mark on it.
Yes.
If Alpha Legion is involved in any way, it is always under scrutiny, and you can never be certain about anything.
Yes, they have woven so many layers of like deceit and lies and misdirection into it that nobody knows what is what in there unless you are actually part of that legion. So they are all Alfarius, they are all one. They are the Hydra. Hydra Dominatus.
We will definitely do more episodes. We'll absolutely do more episodes breaking into one of these. If you hear something that, you know, ooh, Dark Angels, that sounds fucking pretty cool. You know, obviously check them out. Look up their lore, look up their Primarch and everything. Or stay tuned and, you know, listen to us give our insight on it.
Yeah.
Again, we'll give you the no bullshit take.
Definitely,
But,
for sure. Let us know exactly what you want us to hit on. You know, fucking, if you guys think that the fucking emo equivalent of the 40K universe Raven Guard or something cool, fucking,
I gotta
Let me
be
do
honest,
that.
man. They were my second choice. If I didn't go yellow, I would have gone black.
I like
still.
the aesthetic of the Raven Guard, and I like what they're about.
Could you imagine
Corvus
what
is
his
just-
hair would look like if he had taken
I
a Raven?
know. Fuck.
He
Oh,
had
fuck
the
that.
I
side
see-
part.
Yeah, I literally see. Okay, you guys,
Because tonight will be tonight.
you guys ever watched Scott Pilgrim versus the World?
Yes.
Remember the Indian dude he has to fight at first?
Yes.
Mhm.
That is
Indian pirate.
fucking Corvus. That is Corvus Corax. I fucking changed my mind.
Nah, bro.
Right.
Nah, bro. Fucking Brandon from The Crow, man. It's just that depressed.
Yeah, but
just
he was
without-
actually
without-
cool
without
though.
the clown makeup.
But to wrap
Yeah.
up on Space Marines, because again, we'll save a lot of this
Yeah.
for their own individual episodes.
The
They
most customizable.
yes, by far. Now, for any faction that are listed off here and now in the future, be aware as you're getting into the hobby, you can make these whatever you want. If you want, you can peruse the lore and you can choose an existing legion, chapter, anything else, or guard regiment, sister, order, hood, whatever the fuck that is, and you can always make your own. But Space Marines in particular are very much meant for if you want to come on in and choose your own color scheme, your own lore, your own lineage, which Primarch did you come from? Excuse me. You can do so. That is 100% the case. Or if you want, choose one of the existing legions, probably the yellow ones that are really fucking cool, and then you go on ahead and just paint your guys up like that.
Yeah.
And
Stay true to Storm Blue.
We are missing. We're missing about 3 others. One in particular that should actually be talked about if we're going to be talking about the Imperium. So the other 2 we'll add them to the honorable mentions. We got the Death Watch, which we can go into a little bit more, but their whole thing is they're a bunch of
Special Forces Space Marines.
yeah. Their whole origins came from the heresy. All the loyalists who came from traitor legions who were too ashamed to show face again. They basically banded together and made the Death Watch, and somehow that made them anti-Xenos. But whatever.
It was a bit more. It was a tad bit more.
There's a bit more to it,
Yeah.
but for time's sake, right now.
Also, interesting thing about the Death Watch, you can come from any company, any legion, and be Death Watch.
Yeah.
Your time is not known at all. You kind of just disappear off from your squad for a little bit, and then you come and you just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
But it's so just to go ahead and also give more summary on the Death Watch, it's very much considered a honor when you return. Very much so, because whenever you leave, it's a very hard time. You have to fight with other chapters, and basically you were the best in your chapter at killing Xenos. Therefore, you might be recruited or sent off or volunteered to serve the Death Watch, and you serve there for an unspecified amount of time. You'll learn new stuff, and when you come back, you have a nice new shoulder pauldron that you can actually keep with you in your new chapter. So if you ever seen like the specific Death Watch pauldron with there's like black with silver writing all over it, that's an honor that regular chapter people can keep, which is pretty darn cool. Yeah,
That is pretty cool.
so
Kind of like a medal.
mm-hmm.
The next ones are the Grey Knights, who in themselves don't have a Primarch. They're not technically a legion. They are the special forces of the Space Marines. We're going to call them that.
So, and to kind of put it into perspective, if you see a Space Marine as a regular guardsman, it's usually a good thing, right?
It's a good
well,
thing.
I mean, kind of.
If you see a Space Marine, shit went to hell. That's what happens. Like the shit hit the fan.
Went to hell, but you know that shit's getting. But it's
shit is
also
good.
like seeing. It's also like seeing an angel. You know that more than likely you're saved.
For anyone who's ever been in the military, if you're just a regular, fucking grunt or whatever have you, and let's say you got deployed to a battlefield, like the battle zone, let's say the Middle East, and you happen to come across some like Rangers or, Green Berets and stuff, you're like, oh shit, that's cool. That's what the Space Marines are with the Imperial Guard.
Well,
however,
great.
if you are one of these lowly guardsmen on a planet, and you just happen to look to your side and you see a guy wearing essentially silver armor and glowing blue eyes with a spear that's glowing fucking this otherworldly blue, or a sword, something like that, and he looks at you, just know that your family loves you, and that
So does the Emperor.
The Emperor loves you, and that you will not have to worry about whatever happens ever again.
You will never have to file taxes.
Yes, just put it this way: all of your problems
you don't
will
even
be
have
solved.
to remember how to breathe anymore.
Yes. If you see a Grey Knight, you are fucked. You are fucked beyond recognition, because they
Kill everything.
Yes, they specialize in demon hunting. Okay, and if you see a Grey Knight, it means that there's a demon around, which means that you're gonna be dead regardless. So,
It's hard to have corruption when all the corruption's gone.
Exactly, yes. That's sort of the entire state of the Grey Knights, is that if the Death Watch are like the anti-Xeno specialist, Grey Knights are the anti-chaos specialist, specifically demonic.
yes.
So if they come in, shit went south. Shit went really fucking south. That's the only force you probably send in if a major demonic incursion happened. And if that happened, you were dead either ways.
Mhm.
But that being said, because chaos corrupts everybody, like how we talked about in the Guard, how you separate them so if something happens, they don't like full rebellion. Grey Knights make sure that there's no chance of that happening. And
Nope.
you will end up dead, or at the very, very best, living the rest of your life in a work facility on a planet by
Yes.
yourself.
Yeah.
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 Gross.
They would rather eliminate an entire planet than let one fucking demon or one person who saw a demon live.
And that's essentially them.
Yeah.
So moving on to these next guys.
The last but not least.
Make sure that the water's nice and warm and soapy for that sponge bath for the Emperor, because we're talking about the Chiquita Banana Boys, the Custodes themselves.
The Custodes, the Adeptus Custodes.
I can't get over the banana helmets, bro.
You know what? That's fine. Make fun of them all you want. One custodian guard is worth 10 Space Marine.
Yeah.
Those guys, they are the elite. Okay, so the Grey Knights are the Space Marine Special Forces. The Custodes are the Delta Force of the Imperium. All right? You will never see these guys unless you happen to be on Terra near the palace. It's the only time you're really going to see them. Maybe they get sent off, you know, on a mission somewhere. But if you see a Custodes and he's running at you, just stop and embrace the fact that you are going to die. Like,
Yeah,
that's
These were the guys that the Emperor, the guy that made the Space Marines, entrusted to be his own personal guard.
These guys are no fucking joke. They are the most loyal, the most like incorruptible fucking dudes ever.
These are quite literally like in terms of like everything we've talked about.
Yeah.
In terms of power scaling, these are the very top.
Yes.
A Space Marine can probably go and wipe out 100 humans and have very little issue with that. Now, granted, it depends on a lot of context, but Custodes, without a doubt, could wipe out 100 Space Marines.
Oh, yeah.
In the right situation.
Yeah,
like, easy.
yeah. And it's funny because we were talking about Grey Knights, and Grey Knights are like the elite of the Space Marines. Right? One Grey Knight could fuck up a bunch of Space Marines, you know, pretty easily. Custodes can take on a bunch of Grey Knights pretty fucking easily, not even have to fucking worry about it. And I mean, they're Big E's personal guard, fucking.
So I got
and like we just now, like we just kind of demonstrated on the tabletop earlier tonight.
Hey, fuck.
So we had a you know, just kind of diverting you know, going to our game today. We had an excellent 3K. Oh, 3K. Yeah,
Total 3K versus
3K.
3K Space Wolves and Custodes tag team versus, for whatever fucking reason, Eldar, Chaos Demons, and Imperial Fists.
Yeah, we don't understand. We just chalk it up to Alpha Legion. We go from there.
Yes.
It was because we stole the tank.
Yeah, we stole the Imperial Fist Falchion.
We made it personal.
But at one point Bellicor was on the field and it decided to charge my Alaris Custodian, my 6-man unit of Alaris Custodians. 2 CP later, so 2 command points later and a fights first, Bellicor didn't get to have a combat phase.
Terminators turned around, bitch slapped him, continued onwards.
Like nothing ever happened.
And that's kind of a representation of what they are in the lore. So maybe not against demons, but
so an interesting thing I saw about these guys is like these guys are worse than Hispanics for fucking having names.
Yeah. That is not a lie. Coming from a Hispanic man talking to you right now, that is not a lie.
These guys like their entire they put their names on their armor, and like it could fill up an entire set of armor and still not be done.
Quite literally, yes. Anytime a custodian accomplishes something of note, they are given a ancient historical name. They're either given it or they could choose it out, depends on the context, and they add it to the inscription on the inside of their armor. And this can go on for ages, because you still have custodians that are alive since the Horus Heresy. I mean, these motherfuckers are the peak of what can happen. These are quite literally the final solution of war zones. So you got to the point where Constantine Valador, the first Captain General of the Custodians, went ahead and his names, quite literally, whenever they're like spelled like normal font onto a book, filled up the entire book of like a giant tome. That's how many names this guy had. I mean, they have the names and all names.
And he just said, nah, Constantine Baldor. That's good enough.
Yeah.
So guys, let me ask you a question. How many, like in a typical, let's say a typical legion, all right? How many Space Marines are in just one legion?
Legion or chapter?
Let's say a legion.
Are you? Whoa!
Yeah. In a legion, the average was 100,000. Yeah. It varied a lot, but yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it stayed. Oh.
No, legion, not chapter.
No, yeah. Like, the legion comprises of all the individual
I was
chapters.
about to say, hold on, because we don't listen to those numbers.
So yeah, about approximately 100K per legion, right? And there are how many legions? There's 18.
18, and they
20.
were
Yeah.
yeah.
So we're talking about like almost 2 million Space Marines, right? You know how many custodies there are?
10,000.
10,000.
Oh, right.
There are 10,000 custodian guards, 700 of which, if I'm not mistaken, it's either 3 or 7. I think it's 700 of which are tasked to be the Emperor's guard, like personal guard. They stay at the palace at all times.
The Emperor's sponge bath.
Yes, giving him a sponge bath, doing guard duties, whatever. There are 700 of them that are just hanging around in the fucking palace at any given
Gotta
time.
make sure that decaying stays moisturized.
So where the fuck are the other 9,700 or 300 Space Marines?
Oh,
Or the 9,300 fucking custodies?
So how this basically breaks down is that you have those guys inside the like Sanctum Imperialis, which is the main part of basically the palace, right?
Yeah.
That's the main part where the actual emperor is, everything else. And the palace themselves on patrols a little bit outside the walls, doesn't happen too often, they're there. And on top of that, they actually had some missions to do. Now granted, between the Horus Heresy and Modern 40K, for the most part, they all stayed on Terra. That's all they fucking did. Ever since Gilman came back, they've been sent out. And now there was still sometimes custodians would go out and do stuff. In the meantime, they just like sit there doing nothing for 10,000 years. Well, for the most part, they did. But there's actually something that's really fascinating about the custodians is that they will actually go and use psychers to try to get basically prophecies. Okay, but prophecies of what could basically be forthcoming and could be decisive for the Imperium. So, like, let's say, group, you're an up and coming guardsman. We've already established that. Man, yeah. But that being said, you're a lowly conscript. You're in the guard now, son. Well,
Sir, yes, sir.
yes, sir. You go to bed in your cot, okay? And it's because you're fucking arrived at the front. You made it, boy. They slapped your last gun. They said, "Hey, we have war in the morning. Get some sleep."
Yes, sir.
You wake up.
Okay.
You look to your left. You see your face reflecting back at you. Off golden shiny armor.
Ooh, pretty.
You look up. This dude's about like
Higher.
9 foot
Look
tall.
up higher.
Oh, wait.
This guy's about 9 foot tall.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
He's standing there watching you.
Hi.
He doesn't respond.
What's up?
He doesn't respond.
Can I help you?
Nope. You eventually go about your day, and he just continues to follow you. Anybody else notices? They cause panic. He doesn't say anything. Maybe your commanders walk up. I mean, if he's being gracious, he may talk to the commanders or something to say something, but odds are he says nothing. So what they do, whenever their custodies get these prophecies, sometimes they'll send out individual custodies to guard an individual person because they're going to be important. Because perhaps they foresaw that you would rise through the ranks of the guard and be a very important general. And on the cusp of a very important victory that would have saved a sector, you were assassinated. So therefore,
that's not good.
Well, exactly, yeah. So they send a custodian out to guard you.
One guy. They're like, one guy's enough. One guy
is enough. Yes, and he guards you for the next 300 years as you rise to the ranks. You do really good. You get rejuvenate treatment. You live longer.
Does he ever talk to me?
Maybe eventually. It depends on the custodies.
Do we become friends?
Probably not. No, custodians have no feeling of friendship.
No.
Oh,
But that means he's your silent protector.
You are very good acquaintances. That's about it.
But next thing you know, the day finally arrived that they foresaw. An assassin came to take you out, and then he bitch slaps that bitch into the fucking wall, instantly killing him.
So what happens if, like, let's say I make terrible decisions, like I decide that, okay, I have a walking god next to me, there is nothing that I cannot get away with.
Yeah, part of the prophecy.
Cool.
Yeah, they probably know that already.
But also, usually it doesn't, because he's there to guard against direct threats and everything else, but at the same time, he's not going to stop. If you get latrine duty, he's not going to stop you getting latrine duty. He's not there to make your life better. He's just there to make sure you don't die.
Oh, I was just
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about like him slapping my commissar.
Oh no, he would not do that. No.
No.
If
no.
you did that and the commissar went around and shot you, I mean, maybe he would have stopped the commissar from killing you. But that being said, he probably wouldn't have stopped the commissar from like cutting off both your hands.
Yeah.
You don't
So-
need-
Yeah.
I didn't see you using your hands in the prophecy.
Yeah. So, all right, on the same thing. Now, Groot, let's say you're a pretty talented psyker.
Oh,
All right.
congratulations.
Oh,
Yeah, let's say
okay, cool.
Let's say you're a pretty talented psyker.
Call me Mentalk, the Mind Taker.
Alright.
Boo-ee.
Let's say you're walking around you're at an assembly hall on your flagship,
Okay.
and you're waiting for some kind of ceremony to start.
Okay.
You're kind of doing around, you're like kind of reading people's minds, just what's he up to? All of a sudden, you don't hear shit coming from anybody's head. You can't do a damn thing. You're like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I'm not feeling or sensing any fucking thing.
Well, this doesn't usually happen.
Yeah. And let's say you just happen to look off to your left, and you see this
Okay.
relatively
Am I looking
beautiful
up?
woman. No. She's probably about your height.
Oh, she's
you know,
normal.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's normal. Yeah, but she's got a red like ponytail coming off the top. She's dressed in gold armor.
She's
and
rocking that Abaddon top.
Yeah, she's got that Abaddon top knot. She ain't saying shit, but
What's up,
she's
girl, you looking thicker than a Snicker.
she still says nothing.
Oh, you one of them strong silent types, eh?
Still nothing.
I'm
And
noticing
then-
a theme with a lot of the.
And then she just happens to walk away, and all of a sudden, holy shit! What's
Can I hear things again?
you can gotta hear things again.
Oh, that was weird.
And she comes back, and it goes away.
Ooh, what's up, girl?
That is what it's
I
like.
knew you'd be back.
That is, congratulations! You had just had a run-in with a Sister of Silence.
A sister
Also-
of what?
Sister of Silence, also part of the Adeptus Custodes.
Ah,
Their entire thing is to tell psychers no. Just, hey, you know that power you've been used to all your life and shit? Now would you shut it off? We're gonna turn that off real quick.
oh, how does that work?
They just do. They're built different.
They
They
are
are literally built different.
they are built different.
But here's the worst part.
They are nulls.
I don't care how thicker than a Snicker
They're
she
what?
is. Nulls.
They are nulls. They nullify psychic powers and psychic fucking energies and shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
You are severed from the immaterial entirely. It's as
Yeah.
if you have just immediately lost your like vision.
Holy shit.
Yeah. That being said, you probably also would not be attracted to her no matter how good she looked, because one of the big things about nulls is they repulse pretty much everybody around.
Oh, so even if she was thicker than a Snicker?
Even thicker than a Snicker, especially if you're a psyker, absolutely not. You would get you would probably get nauseous even with her being within like restraining order distance. I'm saying it is not a good thing.
Yeah.
You would very much be repulsed. And even people who are not psychers, it sort of like quenches the soul. People find them uneasy and usually don't like them. Yeah. So I hate to say it, even if she's thicker than a Snicker, and she's an absolute 10 out of 10, it probably is not going to work. In fact, she might, if you get a third base, it might actually kill you. So there's also that.
Oh, well, that.
Yeah. As if you get to third base, because she might kill you by first.
So
Yeah.
she's like the girl from Teeth, but with your mind.
Oh my goodness! I didn't have to think about that today.
Yes.
Remind me of that.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
So, that was pretty much everybody from the list. As far as playable factions, we do have some honor. Oh wait, sorry.
It's okay. They're forgettable.
This
It's
is
all
going.
good.
This is going away from the
this is-
power scale.
Do we
because
have to do these kind
Are they a member of the Imperium? Are they not a member of the
You guys
Imperium?
want me to give like a 2-minute rundown?
Yes, do it.
Yes.
Go
please.
for it. Speed run it.
Okay, so you like toasters, yes? Okay, you like fucking toasters. You don't? Oh, well, now you do. Have fun. Okay, so these motherfuckers really like machines. In their opinion, everything that could be created has already been created by humanity in the past. It's just up to them to rediscover what it is. They're the people who bless the bolters. They repair the machines. They go around give hand jobs to vibrators. I mean, this is the type of shit they fucking do. That being said, they augment their body with different shit. Sometimes it can be simply like replacing your arm, replacing a leg, replacing a dick. Sometimes they turn into a cube. That's how this happens. So their forms can vary absolutely wildly.
It
So
is also home to the stupidest fucking model in this goddamn game.
Wait, hold on, guys, hold on. Who are we talking about right now?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, the Adeptus Mechanicus.
Oh, all right, continue on. Yes, fuck toasters. All right.
Yes, no, very good. So,
These guys are interesting. They're technically part of the Imperium, but they're not part of the Imperium because they're an independent entity of themselves. They're just they just have a treaty with the Emperor, but
They're a bunch of Martians. They're people who left Earth and just went next door to Mars and decided that we're gonna do technology shit.
he's the autistic neighbor with the train set in his basement.
Yeah,
That's what we're looking
yeah,
for.
and then he wants
Yeah.
to become the train.
So how it basically worked during the Horus Heresy, they were very much their own empire, and it was a very close treaty. It was basically almost like a confederation or federation type of deal. After the Horus Heresy,
whoa, confederation.
of independent systems.
Yeah.
But,
Mars shall rise again.
but that being said, after the Horus Heresy, they sort of fell more in line underneath the Imperium. So they're still a separate entity, but they're much more a branch of the Imperium now than they were before. But they still have their own autonomy, special privileges, stuff like that. That being said, if you like toasters, you like really cool stuff. They do a lot with radioactivity. Their forge worlds are absolute hellscapes and all that fun stuff. And you like messing around with machines. This is the faction for you. That being said, the models on the tabletop mainly comprise of Da Vinci machines and slightly metallic guns.
Well, everybody, Adeptus Mechanicus in a nutshell.
Wow,
Yeah.
that was like the quickest one.
Yeah, they do have some interesting lore, but I mean, outside of that, meh. They make the guns for everyone else to use.
They suck on tabletop. Let's
Yes,
just
they
go
do.
ahead and say it.
I
They're
don't-
terrible on the
they-
tabletop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're
They have a lot of interesting things, and we'll get to that in their own episode. But quite frankly, right now, that's all you need to know. Trust me, this is Adeptus Mechanicus is very much, if you see them and you like them, you're going to love them. Or you can see them and not care about them, and that solves your issue. If
Yeah.
you see the artwork, you like them, sweet. If
I
you
saw them until I saw them and I loved them until I saw how they played on the tabletop, and I was like, "This is stupid."
Yeah.
They're machines and they're cool, but they're so fucking breakable.
Yep.
And as soon as you break one cog, they run like a machine. If you break one cog, the whole machine falls apart.
100%.
So that's all. That is now all of the playable factions. Some honorable mentions. These aren't really guys that you can necessarily play as. I mean, I'm sure if you really wanted to, you could probably come up with the points. You just won't have any army rules or any stratagems or anything else that you can run with it. These guys are more of
Additions to other armies.
exactly
just
more
mentioned.
of supplements, whether it be narratively or if you find some strategy that works. These could be some good additives. I guess we'll start off with the lowest on the class. We'll start off with the Arbites. This is essentially like, think of
Police brutality, Judge Dredd.
yeah,
that's how it goes.
Space
100
cops,
one
cops.
space
Yeah.
cops, 100% police brutality. Think of Rodney King fucking on steroids. LA riots everywhere.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
not rooftop Koreans. They go around. These are basically like the SWAT team, so to say. There are
We'll
regular
get to
enforcers.
the rooftop Koreans here in a second.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Vindicares. So next up on the list of, I guess, importance, I'd say, is probably the assassin, maybe the assassinorum.
Absolutely Assassinorum, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say probably, if I had the option. It speaks for itself. These are the assassins. Whether it be sniper rifles, whether it be explosions and just all-out fucking chaos and mayhem, whether it be information, these are your guys that you call in to get it fucking done as a single fucking person.
Eversor, best assassin. Just gonna say, well, the most batshit crazy, but
This is
the
like,
most fun.
This is your normal human jacked up to the in fucking degree with like some of the
Yeah.
best
Hyper specialized.
Yeah,
technology and training and genetics and enhancements and everything that can be provided for you just to get your job done.
yeah.
All at the dime of the Imperium.
You have snipers, you have melee bomb guys, you have shapeshifters. I mean, these are the people that go in with one specific mission and they fulfill that mission.
Or die.
Or die.
And moving on would be
The Inquisition.
The Inquisition. And these guys are interesting because technically they're kind of over your Grey Knights and your Death Watch.
They answer to nobody except for either their High Inquisitor, or if you're a High Inquisitor, then in that case you answer to other High Inquisitors and the Emperor. That is it.
Yeah, the Inquisition is like the Law and Order SVU of the fucking 40K universe.
If you think of the Spanish Inquisition, that's the Inquisition.
Yeah, pretty much.
If you're either a heretic, you're either not a heretic or you are until I prove you are.
There was one raw line from the Inquisition. It was like, people is after somebody commits extermination on a planet, and I'll probably pull up the actual quote on the screen here real quick, but it was like, people will judge me for condemning billions to die, but if they truly knew what was at stake, they would judge me for not allowing them to die. I probably just fucked with the quote, but that was the entire point. Is the Inquisitors do what is hard. They are not all trigger-happy psychopaths that go and run around blowing up planets. That is exceedingly rare. But they are the ones who hunt down chaos by any means. Whether that is the extermination of millions and billions, or it's a subtle infiltration mission. That's what they do.
These are humans that quite honestly carry the weight of the universe on their shoulders.
Well, a lot of them are psychers. Ooh.
Yeah.
A lot of them are big psychers.
But like you think about like your normal human that's your normal guardsman that's out killing things. These guys are literally in charge of saying that planet's gonna die.
Yeah.
In charge of just the death of billions.
Yeah.
In order to stop one single chaos incursion.
And they'll do what they have to, like I said, to get it done. There's one guy in particular who decides that he's going to carry a demon around with him for fucking whatever the fuck he wants.
For more on that, look up the Eisenhorn series, and
yes,
if you want to get into if you want to dip your toes into like 40K reading, read the Eisenhorn series.
Yes,
I cannot recommend it enough.
This guy commits literal heresy to get the job done.
We definitely need to do an Eisenhorn episode.
100% on that. Yes.
Yeah. But that, in a nutshell, is the Agents of the Imperium.
And then
the Titan Legions.
Yeah, for you motherfuckers that have money, if you have like a couple $1,000 to spend, and you like the Knights, but it's just not enough for your your little PP energy, pick up some fucking Titans. These are quite honestly walking fucking cities. Some quite literally walking city, cathedral, country, giant imperator Titans.
If having a knight on the field, well, if a knight being on the field is rare and rarely used, a Titan is even more fucking rare. If there's a Titan on your planet and it's not protecting you, you better hope you're one of the fucking good guys. Because that thing will level half the planet by itself, and then just keep on strolling along.
Yeah. These are the Knights Big Brothers.
Yeah,
they're fun. Yeah. Oh my goodness. So it's been a long episode, but we had a lot to cover. We have not even scratched the surface.
Oh God. Just barely. We're only in the Imperium of Man, and we've only barely scratched the surface in the Imperium of Man, and
we're over an hour into this, and we've only hit Imperium as like quick as we could.
And I'm excited because
chaos though.
Next episode,
I'm excited because we have so much more prime hyper focus on Chaos Space Marines, and we can delve into that so much.
I think the Chaos one is going to be way more fun than the Imperium. Chaos is always way more fun than the Imperium. Imperium is pretty straightforward, just good guys. Blah, blah, hey, cool shit here and there. Chaos is just like, oh fuck.
I hate that we don't have a fourth person, but at the same time, fuck having a fourth person, because I feel like we all each have
take one fucking.
I feel like we all each have kind of like our favored.
Yeah, Step
You-
Bro,
You
Demon
and
King.
Berserker have a favorite Chaos faction?
Yeah, what's your
Yeah.
favorite Chaos faction, Corn?
Yes, the fucking Malice. Yeah.
Oh, hey, that's trademark.
But
You
I-
can't say that.
But I
No,
would say,
no.
I would say
The
you're,
best god
you
of
know,
all.
you're obviously Corn. I
Yes,
would
the best
say
god of all is Corn.
Probably Nurgle, maybe Nurgle, Zinch.
I love them all. They're all my children.
You're
It's hard.
you're the
You
demon
gotta have a
dick
favorite
lady
god.
Slanesh.
I am not an Iron Warrior. You take that back.
I didn't say you were an Iron Warrior, but
Oh,
you
that was
definitely.
implied. That was
You're
implied.
definitely
the fact that
Slanesh.
for me, it's the fact that the only like actual Chaos Space Marine Legion you have is, well, you have World Eaters, don't you?
Well, that's a strong word. I have Angron. I have like a Rhino and 10 Berserkers
Okay, so
Yeah.
you have Death Guard though.
and Night Lords. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
What do you mean? Yeah.
as far as mono faction, you have went like
Death
Nurgle.
Guard. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well,
that's
those
the
are
only-
really the only two gods you can really fuck with. Well, and you got
Bro,
Thousand Sons, but-
I'm Slanesh all day. The
oh,
Emperor.
roles have been reversed.
Anyways, we got to wrap this up. But trust me, we'll get plenty of that in
Yeah.
the next episode. But I will say this has been a wonderful thing. Keep an eye out. If any of these pique your interest, please look at more of the lore. But once you get in this hobby, and also be on the lookout, if you don't mind, come back to our lore, and we'll go on ahead and give you a full rundown, and we will tell you more than anything you needed to know.
Yeah.
So in the meantime,
Correctly too. We'll give you the lore accurately,
Yes.
unlike some others out there who may either just give you the tip of the iceberg or just make some shit up to get the clicks.
They'll
So,
give you the Horus hearsay.
yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much. Yeah,
So,
do not trust those TikTok clips. They lie.
So
Yeah. Oh, and there is a YouTube channel out there called the Horus Hearsay. So we're not talking about that guy in particular. He actually puts out some good.
I didn't even
fucking
know that was a channel.
oh,
shit. Yeah, he puts out a lot of like 30K news and I think like battle reports and stuff like that. So we're not talking about that dude.
Go check out that Horus
go check
hearsay.
out that guy. He sounds pretty
But
cool.
as
Yeah.
far as people that put out like normal hearsay about Horus heresy,
Yes.
then don't listen to this.
Yes.
Yeah.
But also want to remind everybody we now have social media.
That's right.
We're
Oh,
on.
yes, we do.
We are on Facebook and Twitter now, as well as our Discord.
Indeed.
Yeah.
A
Soon,
reminder,
hopefully.
if you're listening and you haven't gone ahead and joined that Discord, please do, because we're going ahead and we're having a lot of fun lore discussions in there. And it is, if you want to get in meat and potatoes and even like learn more, right? You can't interact with the YouTube video, but you can interact in the comments or on our Discord. So why don't you go ahead and like pop on over there?
And then you can definitely join the ever-growing community of just Warhammer lovers and, you know,
Oh, yeah.
share memes and enjoy the time there. But everything is at the Serpent's Lodge, Facebook, Twitter, and the Discord, I believe. All links will be in the video.
Yes.
So,
Until the next time.
Until next time.
Until next time, guys.
We don't really have an outro, do we?
We don't have
All right. Next episode we'll have an actual good outro.
Do the
so,
kill man
but-
burn thing again. That
Yeah,
was
but
good.
fuck
All
it.
right, so until next time, guys.
Kill
Kill.
man.
Hey there, guys. From all of us at the Serpent's Lodge podcast, thank you so much for listening to the end of the podcast. It truly does mean the world to us. If you don't mind and if you enjoy this content, why don't you go on ahead and follow us on Spotify, as well as subscribe and hit the notification bell on YouTube. We greatly appreciate that. And in the meantime, we'll catch you guys in the next episode.